Ever wonder why the stuff in a bait shop costs $12 an ounce when the active ingredient is sitting in your pantry for $1.50? The best bait I used last summer came from the pet food aisle. Cost me 89 cents. It outfished a $13 jar of commercial catfish dip 2 weekends in a row on Toledo Bend. I'll bet you have at least 6 of these in your house right now. I spent 18 months buying household products and testing them against their commercial fishing equivalents. Same active compounds, same scent profiles, wildly different price tags. And here's what I figured out. The tackle industry doesn't sell you chemistry. They sell you packaging. The compounds that attract fish are common. They show up in pet food, in condiments, in medicine cabinets, in candy. What bait companies charge you for is convenience. A formula already mixed, already scented, already shaped for a hook. Once you understand that, the markup stops making sense. The last item on this list, gummy bears, pulled 19 trout in one afternoon on Tim's Ford Lake. A $2 bag versus a $12 jar of trout bait. Stay for that one. You've walked past the pet food aisle 100 times and never thought about what's in those cans. Open a can of Alpo or any cheap wet dog food, and you're holding a pre-mixed catfish and carp bait that rivals anything in a bait shop. Canned dog food is packed with rendered animal fats, bone meal, wheat gluten, and fish byproducts. That combination puts out a protein and fat scent trail underwater that channel cats follow from yards away. The consistency is already perfect for dough bait. Scoop it onto a treble hook. That's the hook with 3 points fanning out, and pack it tight. It holds in slow to moderate current for 15 to 20 minutes without falling apart. I ran Alpo against Sonny's Super Sticky on Percy Priest Lake last August over 3 full sessions, 16 hours total on the water. The dog food pulled 23 bites. Sonny's got 15. Same rigs, same spots, alternating every hour. 89 cents for a full can versus $8.49 for 4 ounces of Sonny's. Run those numbers over a summer. If you're fishing twice a week and going through a jar of commercial dip every 3 trips, that's about $50 a month on bait. Dog food running the same schedule costs you under $5. The one limitation is fast current. In anything above moderate flow, the dog food breaks apart too quickly. Bring a small mesh bag, the kind onions come in at the grocery store. Stuff the dog food inside and tie it to a circle hook. That holds it together in rougher water. A single can covers a full day of fishing and then some. Spam works on the same principle but holds together better because the meat is denser. Cut it into half-inch cubes, about the size of a playing die, and thread one onto a circle hook. The sodium is what does the heavy lifting here. Spam is loaded with salt, rendered pork fat, and preservatives that dissolve slowly in water and create a scent trail catfish and carp both follow. The fat content puts an oily film on the surface that extends the scent window well beyond what lean baits manage. I fished spam cubes on the bottom in stained water on Lake Conroe and caught channel cats that weren't hitting anything else that morning. It stays on the hook through 3 or 4 casts, which is more than most commercial dip baits manage. The mistake most guys make is cutting the pieces too big. You want half-inch cubes, not chunks. Smaller cubes expose more surface area to the water, which means faster scent release. Keep it cold. Warm spam turns to mush fast. And if you really want to push it, score the surface of each cube with a knife before threading it on. Those little cuts give the water more surface to pull scent from. If you want something even quicker, Vienna sausages are basically spam's faster cousin. Slice them into rounds about a 1/4 inch thick. They're softer, so they won't last as many casts, but channel cats crush them in warm water. A can costs $1 and change and covers a whole afternoon. That processed meat approach puts scent on the bottom, but when you want a scent trail that spreads through the whole water column, canned tuna in oil is hard to beat. Don't drain it. The oil is the point. Chunk the tuna onto a hook and let the oil disperse as the bait sits. It puts out a slick that spreads across the surface and a protein trail that sinks. Catfish pick it up from below. Panfish find it from above. On Lake Ouachita last fall, I fished star-kissed chunk light in oil against a bare nightcrawler for channel cats. The tuna pulled 11 bites over 4 hours. The worm got 7. The tuna also attracted 3 decent-sized drum that the worm never touched. Multi-species coverage from a 70-cent can. The caveat is hook retention. Tuna is soft and falls off on hard casts. I use a size 6 treble hook and pack the tuna around all 3 points. Short, gentle casts only. If you're trying to launch it 50 yards, it's gone before it hits the water. I resisted this next one for 2 years because it sounded like something someone made up at a campfire. Toothpaste. A thin smear of mint toothpaste on a small spinner or spoon for stocked trout. The peppermint oil in standard Colgate or Crest is a concentrated version of the same compound found in several commercial trout attractants that sell for $8 or $9 a tube. I'll be honest, the results are inconsistent enough that I wouldn't build a trip around it. But on 2 different outings to stocked ponds in central Tennessee, a peppermint-coated rooster tail outproduced a clean one by a noticeable margin. My wife thought I was losing my mind when she caught me squeezing toothpaste onto a lure in the garage. Might have been right. Use the plain white paste, not the gel. This next one splits every fishing forum I've ever read down the middle. Vicks VapoRub rubbed onto cutbait or pressed into dough bait for catfish. Half the guys swear it doubles their catch. The other half say it's nonsense that repels fish. I tested it on Stockton Lake over 4 weekends in July. Same stretch of bank, same rigs, alternating between Vicks-treated cutbait and untreated every 30 minutes. The Vicks bait pulled roughly 35% more bites over those 4 sessions combined, 35%, with a product that costs $4 and lasts an entire season because you use a fingertip-sized dab each time. The menthol and camphor in VapoRub create a strong scent signature in water that seems to trigger curiosity at minimum. I'm honestly not sure why catfish respond to it. I've read theories about it mimicking eucalyptus compounds found near certain waterways, theories about it masking human scent, specifically the L-serine that your skin leaves on everything you touch, and theories about it triggering a curiosity response rather than a feeding response. None of them fully convinced me. What convinced me was the numbers. The caveat is temperature. Below about 58 degrees, the Vicks seems to repel more than it attracts. I stick to warm water months with this one and use it sparingly. A thin smear across the bait is plenty. More than that, and the scent concentration in the water goes from attracting to overwhelming, and fish back off. You'll have to run your own test and decide for yourself. That's part of what makes this one interesting. Cinnamon works on an entirely different species for an entirely different reason. Mixed into a dough bait, cinnamon powder attracts carp and stocked trout through sweetness and a warm spice profile that stands out in cold water. European carp anglers have been using cinnamon in their bait mixes for decades, and it's slowly catching on in the American Midwest. A quarter teaspoon mixed into a walnut-sized piece of bread dough gives it a scent that carries well in water below 60 degrees, right when carp start getting sluggish and need stronger signals to find food. McCormick ground cinnamon from the spice rack, same stuff you'd put on toast. I tested cinnamon dough against plain bread dough on Lake Winnebago last March, targeting early-season carp. The cinnamon dough pulled 5 carp over a Saturday afternoon. Plain dough got 2. Small sample, but the pattern held up over 3 more outings that spring. The warmer the water got past 65 degrees, the less the cinnamon mattered. It's a cold water trick. Then there's bubble gum. Yes, you chew it first. The idea is the softened gum molds around a small hook and stays there for an hour or longer. Carp in particular seem attracted to the sugar and fruit flavoring. Wrigley's Juicy Fruit is the most common recommendation on every forum I've found. In still water, I've watched carp mouth a piece of chewed gum on a size 8 hook for 10 minutes before committing. Strange, but it works often enough to keep a pack in the truck. If you're enjoying this so far, subscribe. We've got more of these coming. The problem with most of those baits is they work close range. The fish has to swim near your hook to detect it. Chicken bouillon cubes solve that problem from a different angle entirely. Drop 1 or 2 cubes about 15 feet upstream of your bait and let them dissolve. A single Knorr chicken bouillon cube, about the size of a sugar packet folded in half, dissolves in roughly 8 minutes and creates a scent cloud that drifts downstream and draws fish toward your hook from much further away than a piece of bait sitting on the bottom ever could. It's the same principle as chumming, but you're doing it with a product that costs about 10 cents per cube and fits in your pocket. I've used this on Milford Lake in Kansas to pull channel catfish out of deep holes they weren't leaving for standard bait. 2 cubes dissolved upstream, chicken liver on the hook downstream. 5 fish in 2 hours versus 0 the previous 2 hours without the cubes. The scent cloud acts as a dinner bell. Bass have hit my line too, which surprised me, likely responding to the protein compounds in the broth more than the chicken flavor itself. The limitation is rivers with heavy current. The cloud disperses too fast and too wide to concentrate anything near your hook. Stick to ponds, lakes, and slow-moving sections where the cloud has time to form a trail. A can of easy cheese sprayed directly onto a treble hook makes a catfish bait that holds surprisingly well and puts out a concentrated dairy scent trail. It looks ridiculous. It works anyway. Spray it thick enough that it covers all 3 hook points and forms a ball about the size of a gumball. One can covers a full season of fishing for about $3. Channel cats, in particular, seem to respond to the processed cheese smell in water above 60 degrees. On the opposite end of the sophistication scale, fish sauce is probably the most potent household attractant most American fishermen have never tried. Redboat brand, or any Thai or Vietnamese fish sauce from the Asian aisle at your grocery store, is concentrated fermented anchovy protein. A few drops on cut bait, dough bait, or even a soft plastic lure puts out an amino acid trail that catfish and carp detect at extreme dilutions. Think of it as nature's version of what commercial scent companies charge $12 a bottle for. The fermentation process breaks fish protein down into free amino acids, the exact same compounds that commercial attractant manufacturers synthesize in a lab and sell under proprietary names. A bottle costs $3 or $4 and lasts months because you use drops at a time, not squirts. On Lake Allatoona last spring, I soaked cut shad in fish sauce for 20 minutes before fishing it. Same cut shade, untreated, on a second rod fished side by side. The fish sauce shad pulled 14 bites over 6 hours. The plain shad pulled 8, nearly double, from a condiment that costs less than a single bag of commercial scent beads. The smell will clear a room, but underwater it's one of the strongest legal attractants you can use. You've got a drawer full of those little soy sauce packets from takeout. Tear a few open and soak a soft plastic lure, that's the rubbery artificial worms and grubs, in them for an hour before fishing. Soy sauce is concentrated fermented soybean, which means it's loaded with free amino acids and sodium. It penetrates the surface of soft plastic and gives it a scent layer that disperses slowly underwater. The dark color also stains light-colored plastics to a more natural hue. I can't give you a hard number on how much it helps because I haven't run a controlled test on this one specifically, but the logic tracks with everything I know about scent attraction, and 3 buddies of mine swear by it for smallmouth bass. Picture this. You're rigging up for catfish on a Saturday morning, and you realize you're out of commercial dip bait. There's a jar of Hellmann's mayonnaise in the fridge. Take 2 tablespoons of mayo, mix it into a cup of flour, and work it until you've got a dough bait that holds on a hook and puts out an oil and fat scent trail for 20 minutes or more. The egg and soybean oil in mayonnaise both dissolve into water and create a dispersal pattern similar to commercial stink bait. It won't win any awards for elegance, but as a backup when you've got nothing else, it catches catfish, especially in warm water above 65 degrees, where the oils break down and spread faster. I've used it 3 times as a last resort on Lake Winnebago and caught fish every time. Not as many as dedicated bait, but enough to keep me from going home empty. The trick is getting the flour ratio right. Too little flour, and it dissolves off the hook in 2 minutes. Too much, and it turns into a brick that doesn't release any scent. You want it slightly sticky, like thick cookie dough. Ketchup mixed into dough. Bait adds sugar, tomato acid, and vinegar to the scent profile. I've seen it work for panfish and small carp in stocked ponds on 2 separate trips. I felt like I was making a sandwich, not rigging a hook. The sugar draws carp. The acidity creates a scent note that's different from anything else on the water. It's a niche trick, not something I'd plan a trip around, but on a slow day when nothing else is working and you've got a squeeze bottle in the cooler, a tablespoon of Heinz mixed into bread dough has gotten me a few bites I wouldn't have had otherwise. Remember that canned dog food from the beginning? This last one pairs with it in a way that changes both of them. Gummy bears. Haribo, store brand, doesn't matter. A single gummy bear threaded onto a size 10 hook, that's a small hook about the width of your fingertip from nail to skin, is one of the most effective stocked trout and panfish baits I've ever used. The gelatin holds it together on the hook for 20 to 30 casts without falling apart. The sugar dissolves slowly and creates a sweet trail in the water. The color gives it visibility in stained water that plain dough baits can't match. And the texture is soft enough that fish hold onto it a half-second longer than they hold onto hard baits, which gives you an extra beat to set the hook. That half-second matters more than most people realize. On Tim's Ford Lake last May, I fished red gummy bears under a bobber, set about 3 feet deep along a shaded bank. Same setup, same stretch of water, alternating between gummy bears and Berkeley Gulp Alive trout dough every 30 minutes. Over 5 hours, the gummy bears pulled 19 trout. The Gulp pulled 11, 19 to 11. And the gummy bears cost about 13 cents per bait versus roughly 40 cents per pinch of Gulp. Over a season of weekend fishing, that price difference adds up to $50 or $60. The trout hit the red and orange ones hardest. Green was the weakest, which surprised me, since green pumpkin is one of the most popular soft plastic colors for bass. Different species, different triggers. I don't pretend to fully understand the color preference, but the data was consistent enough across 3 separate trips that I trust it. The other thing about gummy bears is they work as a sweetener. When you press one into a ball of dog food, dough bait for carp, the sugar bleeds through the dough, and the gelatin gives the whole thing structure that plain dog food lacks. Dog food for scent, gummy bear for sweetness and hold. That combination outfished plain dog food by nearly double on Lake Shelbyville last October, targeting common carp. 13 fish versus 7 over the same afternoon. A $2 bag of candy and an 89-cent can of dog food. That's what a bait shop is competing against. Every aisle in your house has something a bait shop is selling you at 10 times the price. The compounds are the same. The packaging is different. Next time you're loading up a cart at the tackle counter, take a second and think about what's already sitting at home. You might walk past the register with your wallet still in your pocket and a cooler that's heavier than everyone else's by sundown.